Last week in Michigan politics says the balance of power is set to shift in the state capitol come January. Democrats seem in a hurry to get their priorities out the door before giving up their complete control. What's on the docket as this year in the legislature comes to an end? Plus, as State House Republicans prepare to take their majority, leaders in the conference unveiled their plan on how to fix one of the biggest and most consistent issues, local roads. And here in West Michigan, talk around local government is also a buzz amid an upcoming transfer of power. How the finalist for a top Ottawa County position describes what he says has happened, factored into his decision to drop out. I'm Josh Alburtus, and this is your 13 on Your Side Rundown. We begin at the state capitol. For the past 2 years, Democrats had enjoyed unified control in Lansing for the first time in roughly 4 decades, with majorities in the state House, Senate, and a Democrat in each of the 3 top statewide elected offices. But now Republicans are set to take back a House majority in January, and it has Democrats moving to push through many of their priorities before the end of the year. We take a look this week at some of what's on the docket under the dome. As Republicans prepare to take control of the state house once again, Democrats seem busy pushing through last-minute legislation, advancing their priorities. On their way to Governor Whitmer, a pair of bills would prohibit carrying a firearm within 100 feet of a polling place or within 100 feet of an absentee ballot counting board while those ballots are being counted. Now, that doesn't apply to certain officers if you're on private property with permission, if you're transporting it in a vehicle, or have a concealed pistol. Democrats have looked to make progress on a broader swath of firearms reform, it would seem, in these final days as well, including prohibitions on non-lawmakers or non-officers carrying firearms or concealed pistols inside the Capitol building or the House and Senate office buildings without permission. Those bills are still in the works, and requiring state law enforcement potentially to destroy firearms they purchase through gun buyback programs. But while that's been a focal point recently, it's far from the only one, seemingly. Just this week, lawmakers on both sides introducing more than 60 bills in one day. Anything from creating a statewide contest to redesign the state flag to requiring access to safe drinking water when a water source is positive for PFAS, and requiring schools to have feminine hygiene products for at-risk students, and creating a tax credit for those who donate those products to schools. But even though they're the ones still with the current majority, Democrats aren't the only ones on the move. You'll remember earlier this week, we brought you news of a plan out from House Republicans proposing shifting funding sources to give another roughly $3 billion to infrastructure with a large emphasis on local roads. And it's not always full steam ahead for what up until this point publicly was a pretty unified Democratic caucus. Some Democrats are posting to social media critical of leaders for, in their view, putting important issues on the back burner and putting special interests at the front of the line. So we'll have to wait and see what Democrats choose to do with their control in the final days of this trifecta. And as they prep to take House control, Republicans this week unveiled what they say will be among their top priorities, fixing local roads. We were in Lansing this week and talked with incoming House leadership, the governor's office, and the County Road Association about the proposed plan. As Thanksgiving gets closer, many people's minds are on the roads this travel season, and seemingly for many lawmakers here in Lansing, as we're looking ahead to divided government next year, it also seems to be on the mind of many lawmakers as well. And now it's the House GOP that is set to take its majority in January. Some of them are proposing a new plan on what to do to fix local roads here in the state of Michigan. Summer construction season may be over, but the conversation in Lansing is just heating up as Republicans look toward taking control in the state house come January. And top of mind this week, funding for local roads.
How nice would it be if we ended this year with a roads plan that funded our roads fully?
House Minority Leader Matt Hall, set to become the next Speaker of the House, laying out a new proposal, offering a potential step in getting local roads more funding.
What we propose is kind of flipping this formula a little bit, and for this new money, making sure it goes to our local county roads, our local city roads, our village roads.
The plan calls for nearly $3 billion in new funding sources for infrastructure. One group saying the roads are in need, the state's County Road Association.
This is not par for the course.
CRA CEO Denise Donahue put into perspective how large the need may be, according to their data.
Amortizing that over 50 years, we've come up with a figure that we are, in fact, $2.4 billion underfunded just for the county portion of the road network.
The spokesperson for Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer saying in part, quote, "We agree on the need for a long-term funding solution, and Governor Whitmer will work with anyone who is serious about getting things done." While more discussion may be on the way, CRA says they are hopeful as they see dialogue from both sides. Josh Alburtus, 13 on your side. Last Friday, Attorney General Dana Nessel announced a task force to address violence against Indigenous people in the state of Michigan. The Missing or Murdered Indigenous People Task Force is a collaboration bringing together tribal, federal, and state and local prosecutors, law enforcement, and human service specialists, according to the AG's office, to find solutions to what the state is calling a crisis of violence against Indigenous populations. Studies cited by the state claim that nearly 85% of Indigenous women experience violence in their lifetime. The task force will focus on improving investigation and prosecution of these incidents of violence. The task force will meet next in December to continue their focus on Michigan-specific solutions to the crisis. And Donald Trump is signaling he will follow through on campaign promises to increase tariffs. He announced plans to increase them by 25% on products imported from Mexico and Canada. This could increase the cost of things like produce, gas, and cars. And one expert told us some in the auto industry believe the former president could be using the threat of tariffs as a negotiating tool. Mike Wall, an auto analyst at S&P Global Mobility, told us the auto industry and the three countries are all interconnected, with parts and products coming back and forth across the border 4 or even 5 times before the product is finished. That means manufacturers would pay the tax multiple times, he says, possibly significantly increasing the cost of a new vehicle. Wall says one possible silver lining, some manufacturers could decide to relocate some of their work back to the United States.
The U.S., and that's a possibility, certainly, and that's another maybe would be viewed as a positive byproduct. The challenge there is that takes a little longer. I mean, there's technically and typically a longer runway to that. So the immediacy of a tariff clamps down right away. The changes that it might affect can take a little longer to materialize.
As for auto parts manufacturers in West Michigan, Wall said the industry will likely feel the effect, as will consumers, with the price of parts used to repair cars also likely to increase under such tariffs. In response, Mexico's president has threatened a tariff effort of their own, and Canada says it will work with the new administration to find a solution. And despite the possibility of international tariffs, Governor Gretchen Whitmer traveled to Spain this week in an effort to bring jobs and capital investment to the state. Whitmer and other Michigan officials met with public and private sector leaders to discuss expanding existing partnerships, securing investments, and bringing supply chain jobs to Michigan, according to the governor's office. Spain and Michigan have deep economic ties, with over $250 million of capital investment coming to Michigan from Spain in the last 10 years. The state says that Spain is Michigan's 11th largest export market in 2023. Michigan exported more than $770 million worth of goods to the country. And to Ottawa County now. This week, the finalist for the county's administrator position dropped out of the search. The board has been searching for a permanent replacement since former administrator John Gibbs was terminated in late February. Jim Lauer sent a letter this week explaining why he decided to take himself out of the running. 13 on your side's Micah Cho has the details.
The search for the next Ottawa County Commissioner will have to continue as Jim Lauer from Sparta has withdrawn his name from consideration. He's the second candidate to do so in a week. On Thursday, City Manager James Freed from Port Huron, another top 2 candidate, informed the Ottawa County Board he no longer wished to proceed. Commissioner Allison Miedema read Freed's letter out loud during Monday morning's Executive Transition Committee meeting that has been interviewing for the position.
Our hopes and dreams for our families and our future is now and forever interwoven and forged together by time and love. Here in Port Huron, we are home. This is where we want to raise our 2 little girls. No raise or promotion can change that fact.
Monday morning's withdrawal from consideration for Lauer also came with a letter, part of it reading, quote, members of the incoming board majority began reaching out to me both directly and indirectly to express I would not be given a fair opportunity to succeed in this role. They explained that regardless of my qualifications or efforts, they are committed to terminating or otherwise forcing out whoever is hired. After reading Lauer's statement to the Executive Transition Committee, Board Chair Joe Moss made a statement regarding the withdrawal.
But as we just heard from Jim's statement, he has withdrawn after being intimidated by T-Plus and Bonema. Not because he did not have the proper qualifications to be county administrator, but because he participated in a transparent and public search process by the current board.
Moss called out incoming board member John T-Plus and incumbent member Jacob Bonema. In a statement, Bonema said about Moss's remarks in part, quote, the accusation of intimidation was merely an unfounded opinion of Chairman Moss lacking any factual basis. Unfortunately, this chair and the exclusively OI committee intentionally set these candidates up for failure. He goes on to say, as January approaches, I want to express my gratitude to the candidates for their applications and encourage them to consider reapplying in the future.
And Chair Moss didn't immediately respond to requests for comment earlier this week. However, as our colleague there, Micah Cho, reported, Bonema has made clear he hopes the new board will be able to pick the candidate rather than the current one. A new affordable housing complex is set to open in Grand Rapids with assistance dollars from the state and the federal government. It's aimed at helping the community's most vulnerable. A point-in-time study conducted early last year found over 1,000 people in Kent County were unhoused. 13 on your side's Callie Lichter shows us how East Point Commons may help reduce those numbers.
Kind of part of our whole philosophy that we're all equally human. And I think it's a basic thing that we all deserve to have is clean, safe, affordable, well-appointed places to live.
Grand Rapids' newest affordable housing complex is ready to open its doors. East Point Commons is a 118-unit income-based apartment building built by Hope Network. CEO Bob Von Kennel believes the complex takes the barrier out of finding a home.
I think more than anything else, just making sure that everyone has an opportunity to find a great place to live that's affordable, that's safe, and convenient.
Executive Director of Housing and Community Development Anthony Barker says a portion of units will help people most in need.
Supportive housing, we have 42 units. And those are set-aside units with state vouchers to allow folks who are currently experiencing homelessness, but mostly the chronically homeless, also folks with who are escaping domestic violence.
An apartment at East Point Commons is more than just a living space.
What's nice about a community like this is, in general, if you're living in the mainstream with folks, your neighbors are going to care about you. They're going to see you every day. They're going to see when you're up. They're going to see you when you're down, and if you're down, they're going to say something because that's what neighbors do.
The apartment complex will be the first step to helping community members have a foundation and the ability to connect with Hope Network services.
Yeah, so I think housing is fundamental to who everyone is. It's a great place to ground everyone. It's a point of safety. It's a point of building. So I think having a great place that's safe, that's affordable, and convenient for what they do is so very important, and it's foundation to who Hope is.
While the holidays may be a time for many to wind down the year, including the legislature itself, but this season is certainly still keeping some electeds busy. Coming up, the holiday traditions that are extending into the halls of politics, and the warning one of the state's top elected officials is issuing this holiday season to consumers. As you start your holiday shopping, the state's top elected law enforcement official is urging people to be alert to scammers trying to steal your money and information. And now artificial intelligence, she says, could be making scams much trickier to spot. We spoke this week with the state attorney general on how you can prevent a potential scam.
For some, it's ho, ho, ho during the holidays. For others, it's oh, no, no, as Americans have fallen victim to a seemingly growing number of consumer scams.
There's so many of them.
An updated study out last week from the Better Business Bureau found that reports to the organization's scam tracker rose more than 125% last year. Here in Michigan, the state's attorney general says it's a big issue.
You're going to be able to avoid some scams that might not seem so obvious to you, but if you fall for them, they're really going to hurt you in the pocketbook.
Threats noticed by Nestle's office have ranged anywhere from online shopping scams.
You don't know that they're real. You might be punching in your credit card number and it's a total scam. You get nothing.
To fake phone calls from supposed family members or friends.
He's at Newark Airport and somebody stole his backpack. And now he doesn't have credit cards or a phone. That's why he's calling you from a strange number. And he really needs you to wire him some money right away or even provide information to your bank account.
This scam is one Nestle says has taken a new, much more deceptive twist as artificial intelligence capabilities have only grown.
It's so easy now for somebody to mimic your grandson. It's going to sound exactly like him. You won't even be able to tell the difference.
But preventing a scam can be done, Nestle said, and it all lies in being alert. Things like taking the time to research the company or vendor, asking a caller to answer certain details only they would know, and not being quick to jump on deals that seem too good to be true or links you can't immediately trust.
Well, you are going to absolutely get something that says that you have a package. It's waiting at the U.S. Postal Service. All you got to do is click on that link to get some more information about it. Don't click on that link.
If you believe you may have been the victim of a scam, you are able to report a complaint to the AG's office. Nestle also encouraged people to sign up for their consumer alerts, which let people know about new scams identified by the office so that you know to avoid them. And with the holiday season now here, we're bringing you the news as the state's top executive wielded her pardon power this month, continuing a new state tradition. Governor Whitmer continued the annual event that began in the state during her administration, pardoning a turkey before Thanksgiving. She pardoned Aiden Cluckinson. We're told the name was submitted by a young Lions fan from South Lyon. The governor's office said there were more than 4,000 names submitted in the statewide naming contest, with most of them being Lions related. No wonder why this year. This is the third turkey Whitmer has pardoned as governor. Last year, Whitmer pardoned Dolly Parton, and in 2022, she pardoned Michigander. Another tradition continuing this year between Governor Whitmer and Ohio Governor Mike DeWine ahead of the Michigan and Ohio State football game Saturday. Whitmer, a Democrat, and DeWine, a Republican, have been placing what they call friendly wagers on the game since 2019, which are usually special gifts from their respective states. This year, Whitmer is wagering a pack of Michigummies from Sherm's Candies, a local Michigan company with locations across the state. DeWine wagered a candy basket highlighting local Ohio candy companies and flavors. The Wolverines have won the last 3 meetings between the teams, but the Buckeyes are favored this year by almost 3 touchdowns. And that's the rundown for your week in Michigan politics. Be sure to keep up with all the top political stories of the day, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.